What's good, guys? Danskin1711. I'm finally back. I am your digital Saiyan. And last time you saw me, did a 1.5 deck profile for you. And I said I was going to do some starter deck bt4 decks. Well, that didn't happen because things came up. But I do owe you some bt4 decks. And I think it's time we get ready to do it. So, what happens when a royal knight decides to join the Holy War? You get this. This is Yellow Gallant. Let's get into it. Alright, just one more thing before we actually get into this deck profile right here. I wanted to let you guys know of a very special event going on next Friday, the 18th. This is mainly for you guys out here in Minnesota. But if you guys want, if some of you actually do want to travel all the way up here, be my guest. But next Friday, the 18th, there is a charity fundraising event going on for Digimon Tournament. All the info is here on this piece of paper, and I will zoom up a little bit closer so you can try and get the info. If I can get it to focus. But I will be attending this. Also, there's going to be more info. There's also going to be posts about it in the Minnesota Facebook group. I'll have that linked in the description below. I can try and find the post and pin it for you guys, because I am a moderator in there. But, yeah. Just a nice, friendly, casual event to help raise money for a new school. And I will be attending it. So, with that in mind, let's get into this Yellow Gallant deck profile, shall we? Now, starting off, I'm going to go over the eggs that I'm running. I'm running 4 copies of Upamon. Just a really good, one of the best yellow eggs in the game right now. When you have 3 or less security, on swing, you get to draw a card. And who doesn't like drawing more cards? The 5th egg I'm running right now, and I might bump this up, depending on how I feel, is Koromon. Another really good card. This deck does have a sub DP reduction theme, and this card negging stuff by 1000, it can come up at times. Now, before I move on to the rookies, I'm actually going to talk about the tamers in the deck, because they're actually very important. We are running 3 copies of Taikamiya, the 4-drop. All he really does is that at the start of your turn, you have 3 or less, you bump shift to 3, and then any of your red Digimon that have 4 or more sources get security attack +1. He's mainly in here just so that we don't get memory choked, but he does have a small other use that I'll cover here in a little bit. The other tamer we're running is 3 copies of Kari, Tai's younger sister. And what she does is that when you're at 3 or less security, you gain a memory at the start of your turn. These 2 cards together allow you to stay at 4 memory at the start of your turn. Or higher if you have multiple cards out. And being at 4 is actually important because Gallantmon is a 4-cost evolution. These 2 combined allow you to go into a Gallant without ending your turn. So now we'll go into the rookies. We are running 4 copies of Salamon, because who doesn't like to recover more cards? And it's just a really good basic rookie that on deletion, if you have 3 or less security, recover 1. And that's always a good thing. And being at 3 or less, or being right at 3, I should say, is really good for the next rookie that we're running, which is 4 copies of Pulsemon. Pulsemon says that on play, if you have 3 or more security, draw a card. If you have 3 or less, gain a memory. So if you're exactly at 3, not only will he only cost 2, he'll also draw you an extra card. And again, drawing cards, never a bad thing, especially with some of the stuff that we're running in this deck. The next rookie we're running is 4 copies of Lopmon. Again, helps us maintain our security, so it's right at 3 where we want to be. And extra draws. The last two rookies that we're running is 2 copies of Labramon. Again, we have a small sub-theme of DP reduction. And if we ever do actually pull it off, where we make something to 0 by DP reduction, we'll get a draw from Labramon. Moving on to the champions, we are running 4 copies of Tyrannomon. Just a really good vanilla level 4 that only costs 1 to Digivolve into. So that means we can get our chain going pretty quickly. And being 6k is nothing to sneeze at. It gets over Ultra S. Well, not. It gets over the destruction effect of Ultra S. For our blockers, we're running 4 copies of Unimon. Just really good blocker. Blockers are really good in the current meta. So. And, yeah. Next up, 2 copies of Ankylomon. These will eventually switch out to be Pedomons, but I just don't have them at the moment, because out of 16 packs from pre-releases, I've only pulled 1. So, but for the time being, it's a really good card that if it does end up being your security, you just bring it out, and only being 2 costs to Digivolve into is never bad either. Now, as a little surprise tech, we are running 1 copy of Agunimon, just because we do have the red tamers that we can Digivolve off of. And having that extra swing that your opponent doesn't see coming is never a bad thing. Because if your tamer's been out for at least a turn, and they think they're going to live through a turn, you can drop this on top of one of your ties, swing with it, and you might catch them off guard. Might win a game or 2 with it. Moving on to Ultimates, and this is where things get spicy. This is where we get into our red package. Well, technically Agunimon was the start of our red package, but this is where it really starts to shine. Or I should say, starts to rise. We're running 4 copies of Rise Greymon, which he counts as both a red and a yellow, which is always good. For May Digiburst 2, you can play a tamer from your hand for free. Really good card. And that's not even counting the fact that he has an inheritable of, if you have any tamer in play, when you swing, you reduce the opponent's Digimon by 2k. Really good card. Helps us consistently get into our Gallants that much faster. Just so we don't get screwed on only trying to find these though, we're also running 3 copies of Sylphimon. Sylphimon is another red Digimon that also counts as yellow. Also Digivolves from both red and yellow. And when Digivolving, you can change the original DP of any of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon to 1k. Now, you might be asking, well, how does that matter? Well, it matters because of Koromon. Koromon says if you have 3 or less security, reduce some things by 1000 DP. Well, 1000 minus 1000, that's 0. And then the last 2 ultimates we're running is 2 copies of Skull Greymon. Skull Greymon is a really good on-play card, even in bt4 format, where on play you just delete any card with blocker. And with all the new 1-cost blockers floating around, it is really good to have. Now, so now let's really get into our bread and butter, our win con of the deck. 3 copies of Gallantmon. And Gallantmon says if you have a red tamer on play when you Digivolve into it, you can delete any Digimon on your opponent's side with 6k DP or less. But that's not all it does. Because for every 10 cards in your opponent's trash, when he swings, he'll trash the top security. And so when I say trash, it means they just go straight to the drop. They don't get checked. So if it's an Ultra S, he does not die. You can get some really big damage off with this guy. And he is the star of the deck. The backup mega that we run is 2 copies of Wargreymon. And this is the one from bt4 that says when digivolving, he gains security attack +1, and then when attacking, he does not trigger the security effects of option cards. Really good against red yellow security. Really good against anything that's like option heavy. So things like Gallantmon won't trigger. Things like Eden's Javelin won't trigger. Really good if you want to safely swing at your opponent. Now obviously the only megas we're running are reds, so we have 2 copies of Omnimon Alter S, which is a phenomenal card. One of the best cards in the game right now for red or black decks. Because on Digivolution, Digivolve 1 across your opponent's entire board. Then, if say they have anything that's 5k or less DP, it gets destroyed. It also has a nifty little effect that when attacking, you can bounce the level 6 back to your hand from under him to make him unblockable. Doesn't come up too often, but I guess against black blockers or things like that have a lot of things, anything that has a lot of blockers, it's really good effect. The last 3 cards we are running is 3 copies of Eden's Javelin, again just to help support the sub DP production theme that we're running. The deck is mostly aggro, but it does need some removal, and that removal comes in the form of Eden's Javelin, where the more cards you have in hand, the bigger things you can get rid of. Some other things that you could run in here is that instead of Wargreymon, the red Wargreymon, you could run the yellow Wargrey. I don't have any of them on me at the moment to show you, but if you do decide to run those, you would not run these, so you'd have to find something to put these in. The other thing is you can run Pedomon over the Ankylos, which is what I'm playing and I'm doing once I get them. Pedomon is just another it's a 5k blocker. It only costs 1 to digivolve into, so it's a really good card to, again, speed up your chains. And yeah, so that has been the deck, guys. I'm gonna hop over to the other camera and get back on over, and we'll close this out. And that has been Yellow Gallant. So if you have any questions about the deck, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And also, I'm going to have another link down below. That's going to be to my Twitch channel, because I am going to try and stream my bt4 box opening tonight, if I can get it working. If not, I will have that back up here on Twitch probably Saturday. I'll have that video up. Yeah. And make sure you guys, if you want to come out to that charity event, I'll have the information linked below. In fact, I can actually try and see if this might be a little bit better for you guys if you guys want to come out. So there is the location, and then just a little bit more of the info. Just make sure you guys have a BCC ID ready to go beforehand, just to make it a little bit smoother for everyone. And yeah, until next time, guys. I don't know what my next video is going to be quite yet. It might be the box opening, or it might be another deck profile. So we'll see. But until next time, guys, this is DanceKing1711.